Ah, the agents of chaos seem to have kicked things into overdrive. Quite the display we've seen lately, haven't we? Isn't it fascinating when people reveal their true colors? So, Lorena thought copying my entire platform was the way to clap back? Quite amusing, isn't it? Couldn't even muster the creativity to come up with a new name. It's been quite the effort to spin this narrative that my channel doesn't hold others accountable when they're being anti-indigenous, isn't it? Take, for instance, this channel's track record. I have always been transparent, shedding light on various issues, like how the black community holds others accountable.
I know your whole business. Wasn't you just talking about going to Africa? You a pandemic Indian. And that's what the fuck you always gonna be. That's why I got you dancing and shaking and gyrating. Because you can't do shit else. You can't do shit else but gyrate and dance and showboat.
It seems like all the noise was just a diversion, trying to deflect from your own hypocrisy. Now I was accused of clipping a video I posted a few days ago. I'm calling out both Mono and Lorena for pushing that lie. Now I have never clipped a single video that I've posted thus far, so why would I start now? And to prove my point even further.
In the indigenous community, we need to call out this shit because we are being labeled as anti-black when that's simply untrue. I'm being labeled as anti-black because I made that channel. And I decided, you know what? We need our own channel to address this shit. We do. And that's the thing. So now they're calling me anti-black because they said that most of the people who are being racist are black to us. So that means we want a war against black people? That's not what that means. That means we want a war against the people who are being anti-indigenous and being hateful to our people.
Now, Lorena, you know I didn't call you anti-black for creating that page. You got called anti-black because you make excuses for your anti-black friends and their behavior. Then I caught you encouraging more drama between native TikTok and black TikTok. You lied again, which isn't a surprise to me because it seems like lying has become second nature for you. Remember when you guys tried to smear Granny Koi's name out of desperation with lies? Quite the embarrassment when you were caught red-handed.
Derogatory things about y'all. You guys are a group of people. And
that's how I see it.
Mexico. That's it. You guys are a group of people, and you guys are a majority from Mexico. That's what I said. And when I talk about that, I talk about the caste system and how you guys still live in that caste system mentality. But you made that about being anti-Mexican, anti-black. Why don't you just hear what I'm saying instead of trying to
tell you what I think? Well, my problem is with you. You don't have to tell me what you think it is.
Well, that's all you know. What is the problem, Mateo?
Well, you held alive, right? And it was similar to this one in the background, except for you changed it from this one. You said our enemy is not only the white man, but the other one you said is not the white man, right? And then you went on and you went to your panel and you guys had a very long discussion about how Mexican people specifically, and you even said that this doesn't apply to all Latin American countries, but specifically just Mexicans are your enemy, meaning the enemy of black people. You identified us as your enemy, and I have the recording, so you can't lie about it.
Play the video. I didn't say that.
Check out Lorena's post.
The Afro-Indigenous man said that. I didn't say that. Why you keep trying to say I said that?
You also said it. You guys both said it. You both said it.
I said I agree because the people on this app, the group, are from Mexico. Play the video of me saying anything continuously negative about Mexicans. That whole rant was not.
I already played it. Or you've already heard it.
What'd you say? What did you say, Mateo?
I've already played it. You've already heard it.
I know. I have it on my phone.
Yeah. So what do we dispute about?
Separatism or anything? And I did point out the same thing I tell you guys every day. You guys are from Mexico. You guys tell me you're from Mexico, and you guys have been the ones causing a lot of anti-black behaviors. I stand in that.
Like what? As in what?
Does that mean that everybody from Mexico is bad? No. It means that there's a caste system problem.
You said everyone.
That causes you to be anti-black.
You didn't specify individuals that you have problems with. You
Exactly. I said group.
identified
I
the
said a group on
entire
TikTok.
group.
Nope. I
No,
said
you
a
said
group on
Mexican
TikTok.
people
Oh,
in general.
wait a minute. What did I say? Group? Did you say group?
You said Mexican people.
No, I did not. Play that back. You just said I said group.
All right, I'll play it. I'll play it.
Go ahead and
Check it
play
out.
it.
Let's see if I can pull it up here real quick. Sorry,
Civilized,
technical difficulties here.
it's peaceful
And
over
the thing
here.
that I want you to do is to just let it play. Don't cut it off. Don't talk in between it.
Well, I'm going to go to the point where you said that because I don't want to hear that one guy
Yeah,
ramble
no,
on
no,
for
no.
30 or 20.
Go like 1 minute before I said it, so people can have context. Because I don't think it's appropriate to label people or to put words in people's mouths. You're trying to make me a separatist, and the whole live stream, I'm pointing out that I'm BIPOC friendly. I believe in the BIPOC community coming together, which is why I posted this, because we're fighting with each other instead of white people. They're not the ones fighting us.
Yeah, you said that it's not white people that are.
We is that black, if blacks then I be lying about this stuff. Okay. White women, white men, do you see dating black men and black women now? It's actually more of a common thing than it used to be. But then you look around and how many Mexican women do you see dating black men? It's very rare. And that just tells you right there. Because personally, if the white people really had that much of a problem with black people, I don't think that you would see so much integration with black and white right now like you do. Granny. Well, I appreciate what you said because I think so.
He a lie. I got 3 black and Mexican nephews.
Someone said in California there's a difference between blacks and hard R's. Hey, where is that at? Let me see. Hold on, I'm hearing it's just me.
Wait, why did you
Oh, I see
skip?
Hold on, let me
Did you skip
screenshot
the part where I
it.
was responding?
Can I be lying about this stuff? It's just me, you're getting blonde. And muted. Thank you very much. I do want to thank you for saying something because it's not something to go against either one. It's just basically saying we need to wake up, all of us. We need to realize that we have some things going on that we haven't even fixed within ourselves. I've seen videos of people that are from Mexico talking about what you talked about, that they were darker complected and they were made to feel like they were less than, and that comes from the caste system mentality. And then we talk about the crabs in a barrel, where you see someone that's black doing very well, and after they see them doing very well, they try to tear them down instead of everybody eating at the table or just saying congratulations. I get what you're saying. I resonate with what you're saying. And yeah, black. When I hear people say black and brown unity, I laugh because it's such a joke. It's like a false narrative that they're trying to push that is not what's really going on. Like, especially like during the Trump era, they were talking about how black and brown, like that definitely was not something that was happening. Not in California and not in Texas. Like, we're blacks and Mexicans were not coming together like that. I don't even know why people push that narrative. And, just for blacks that don't know, I just let them know, as someone who's half Hispanic, that the Mexicans want nothing to do with the black people. So the black and brown narrative is like, it's a joke. Like, it's a straight joke. We have to say something real quick. Yeah, but I just want to say those are the people that we have the biggest issue with that was arguing about the N-word. They're from Mexico. Okay, I just want to say that because you know what? When I heard that somebody said...
So pause that real quick. Who are the ones that we were arguing with about the N-word?
What?
Who were the people we were arguing
I
with?
don't know what you're talking about. You guys were referencing some other shit that I wasn't there to witness.
No, listen, but wait a minute. If you don't know what we're talking about, it was Manny, it was Friday, it was people that was supporting it from Mexico. About
Then why
the
did you say
N-word.
from Mexico? You should.
Because we're talking about what happened and how they're trying to say it's okay to say the N-word. And the people that we had the discussion with were from Mexico. Because he had mentioned that they be saying,
Yeah, she just said from Mexico,
yeah, I
not
didn't
all Mexicans, like
exactly.
not the whole of
And I
Mexico.
was talking,
That was sorry. That's
wait a minute, Mateo, and I was specifically talking about that situation.
doesn't matter.
Dirt done by a Mexican to a black person, and I've seen a white person do. And it's like, sometimes I feel like it's falling on deaf ears when I'm saying it's like people don't hear me, like I'm surrounded by NPCs. Like, how do you not see that these people are more of a threat to you than a white person? And
So pause that. Pause that. Is that my voice? Is that me talking? Because you're
Oh,
running around
if we
telling
continue
people.
listening, you will co-sign all of his statements.
No, you know what? I
No.
respect. No, wait a minute. I respect what you're saying, Mateo. I don't try and put words in anybody's mouth. Thank you for saying that. But again, that's the
If
same
we
thing I do
continue
to
listening, you will co-sign
no,
his
wait,
statements.
wait. That's the same thing I say to everybody. I say that to everybody that speaks, whether I agree with them or not. The same thing I just said to you. Thank you for your opinion. I respect your opinion. And that's it. It
So you're
doesn't
not
matter.
going to let me continue to play to the part where you co-sign and agree?
I want you to. I want you to.
Okay.
I say watch.
Go ahead.
And the darker ones,
People is not racist. Forgive me, I said
just a whole bunch of red.
to the store across, and
Right there.
personally, I will say that I think that I do feel like I agree with my name. Agree with you about what you said with your experience. I do agree that yes, I'm not saying that Europeans are not. I'm saying that what I've been seeing has mainly been from people that aren't European. But as far as the I actually had neighbors that was on both sides of me. One was a woman with her daughters, and the other side was three men that lived in the apartments on the side. And they were the nicest people. They were so cool. Like, I had no issue with them. I even still knew them when they moved out, you know.
You're not talking about Mexicans right here. You're talking about Guatemalans.
This is
No,
why
I'm
it's
not.
so
I'm talking
shocking
about
to me.
Salvadorians.
Oh,
And the only time
Salvadorians,
I've
yeah.
ever seen people from a certain area was when I went to the store across from where I lived at. And I mean, they wasn't mean in person, you know what I'm saying? It was really weird. So they was very open. Maybe it's the region. I don't know. But
I feel like region has to do with a lot of stuff. You know, because like I told you, I didn't.
Pause the video. So I confirmed that in person I'll have problems with people from Mexico. What's your point, Mateo?
You're saying that your El Salvadorian neighbors were just fine, but then whenever you would encounter Mexicans out in public, like at the store, that they would be racist towards you, not to your face, but behind your
I
back.
never said that. That's not what I said. Play that back. Play that back so you can hear it again.
well,
Listen.
so me personally, I will say that I think that I do feel like I agree with my name. Agree with you about what you said with your experience. I do agree that yes, I'm not saying that Europeans are not. I'm saying that what I've been seeing has been European. But I actually had neighbors that was on both sides of me. One was a woman with her daughters, and the other side was three men that lived in the apartments on the side. And they were the nicest people. They were so cool. Like, I had no issue with them. I even still knew them when they moved out, you know. And this is why it's so shocking to me. And the only time I ever seen people from a certain area was when I went to the store across from where I lived at. And I mean, they wasn't mean in person, you know what I'm saying? It was really weird. So they was very open. Maybe it's the region. I don't know. But
I feel like region.
All right, push pause. Now, can you
Why
tell
do
me?
you keep muting me? You're about to start talking more about
No,
it.
because you're trying to change my words. I want to talk about that. So, did I say they were mean, or did I say they wasn't mean to me? Because everybody's here and everybody heard that plain.
You said they were mean behind your back, not in person.
I never said that. I said they never mean to me in person. When I'm talking about the other people that's confusing me is the people online. Online, people act different than in person. In real life, in my area in the Midwest, Mexican people are nice to us. They're not mean like you
Good people
guys.
there, huh?
They don't switch our words around. They used to invite us to their parties. They're very welcoming. They're kind. Online, you guys are mean. That's what I'm talking about. I said in person. They are not mean in person. So how can you say I'm saying they're mean in person, or now they're talking behind my back? Now you're adding extra stuff to try and backpedal to try and spread this lie still. But go ahead. I'm eating. Go ahead and play the rest because I know what I talk about. I stay the same. I'm all about humanity. I'm not about separatism. I believe in my people. I'm always going to be for my people. But I do also believe in helping out other races. But go ahead, play the video, please. Go ahead and try and pick the one where I said that the Bible is our history book. I've been saying that for about 20 years. I'm never going to change that. Go ahead. You guys, let's
Why, Sam? You know, I know there's. I hate their to go against either one. It's just all of us. I've not had problems with any white men. Stay away from the black people. Don't play. And made $5 and could have bought spaces. They come to my state. I think most people. What I heard today, the key, like I'm not anti. It's funny during the voting season. The truth of the matter is, white people to the continent of America. I think that's an excuse. It's 2024. I understand systemic. Okay, and when I'm done, I'm sorry. When I'm but I think that systemic racism does exist. I think that yes, what Kit Kat said is correct, but I think give people a heads up because you search my name and you'll be like, oh my god. I'm gonna tell you this. I've been ranting on. Every time I see you, separatism or doing colorism or whatever, it's like, are you for real? If we literally see that this person has done no wrong, that people sat up here and said derogatory things for him, and he's responding with that same energy, how are we gonna sit there and be mad at him? Like, no, that's not what's gonna happen. It's not. I'm sorry. It's what time is it? It's 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm starting a little bit, but and it's not from anything else except for tiredness. But I don't discuss black issues in front of anybody. I don't discuss black people that they want fighting each other more than what I'm seeing with that. Like, I mean, with all the energy, why can't they fight them? Like, why are we focused on each other? I want to say this because this is a big thing for me.
I think that was it right there.
We have more beef with each other than we do the racist Europeans.
So what are we doing right now?
Called each other names, dragged each other. I've seen people DOX people. I've seen people make up things about people and cause possible safety issues with them. I'm trying to pick out words because people don't like probably all of us in the panel except for right. So, but with that being said, I respect everybody's opinion, but I get what you're saying. I'm not saying that Europeans aren't this. I'm not saying it, but I'm seeing more of a problem with us fighting each other more than what I'm seeing with that. Like, I mean, with all the energy, why can't they fight them? Like, why are we focused on each other? I want to say this because this is a big thing for me.
Okay, hit pause. Could you make sure we heard that? So, on TikTok, do you see Europeans holding lives with our faces in the background? Or
I just did a long video critiquing a European man who was literally trying. I'm answering the question. Excuse me. Let me answer it.
I'm done with the question. I'm like, I wasn't even done. On TikTok, do you see Europeans doxing black people, spreading lies about black people, spreading rhetoric about black people. When I go to live streams, and this is just this part of the question, when I go to live streams with my community, there'll be 1,000 people in the live streams and they're talking about other black people. When I go to native live streams and you guys have like 300 people in your live streams, you guys are talking about other native people. And even now, when we're talking about each other, we still get like 100 or something in there. What I'm saying is, we are more of the problem that I'm seeing than the European people at this time, because they don't have to do anything because we're doing it for them. We're fighting amongst
The
each
answer
other.
is yes. I've seen. Or you let me answer or what?
I'm not doing it. My mind is, and I
Yeah.
All right, so my answer is yes. I've seen plenty of it. I've seen plenty of white tea, not just white tea people, but straight up white tea nationalists spreading hate speech about black people, about indigenous people, about Mexican people. I have a video that I just did, a long video that I just did breaking down this white tea nationalist Nazi motherfuckers and misinformation, where he's literally trying to stoke division between indigenous people and black people specifically, trying to make it seem like Spanish people are not white, but they're actually Arab mixed with black, and those are the real people that actually colonized the Americas, and they should be the ones that are blamed. And this whole pitting minorities against each other shit is something that's coming directly from the white nationalist sphere on TikTok, and you are perpetuating that.
How? Show me in that video that you just played how I'm doing that.
Hold on, I'm gonna order some food.
Okay.
Yeah, it's taking a long time to get to that part. And
Yeah,
make sure you respect her, let her finish first, and then you can respond.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you because I'm eating, so I can't hit the button. And
Fast forward or something.
because I'm sitting here like I'm trying to find out where I'm doing any of that, where I'm bringing separatism and stuff. Well, I let everybody talk, and unless they say something derogatory, he didn't call you guys a derogatory name. He talked about his experience as an Afro-Indigenous person. He can speak for his one half of people, and he can speak for his other half. He talked about Black and Indigenous people. That's what he said. Hi, Goddess. That's what he talked for himself. I can't take his voice away because you didn't like that he was talking about anti-Blackness. I can't take his voice away because I didn't like what he was saying about crabs in the barrel about Black people. All I can do is just sit there and say, okay, thank you. I resonate with what you're saying as far as the Black part. I ain't been in no Latino community like that to even resonate with that part.
Yeah, and there is anti-Blackness in every community, just like there's, anti any other race in every community. Like,
yeah,
just like, you was on the panel when someone said the N-word. You didn't step up and say nothing, so I don't.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a liar.
I don't get the whole point. What's his name? Do your own research. No name.
No name.
I mean, he was literally kicked off the panel, so why are you lying?
Let's keep it real.
So does that represent you though?
We have the video. It's located on YouTube.
He's in the video. You can see in the video that he's kicked off the live.
Does
So
that represent you?
No, but
You're trying to
listen what he
hold
said.
her accountable, but you're not holding
kicked
yourself.
off the panel for saying that. That's why you're a liar.
No. Mono said, go get some water because I don't want my live stream to get bananaed. He never said, don't say that word over here. He never said that's derogatory.
He said he can't say that here. And he kicked him off.
He never corrected him. It's still on that TikTok trending thing. It's still on there. Why
You're lying. You're lying because you did kick him off.
Why would I believe you? You literally.
Why would I believe you? Why would I believe you? Look at your fucking background.
Yeah, what is my background?
Bruh, watch your mouth again. Calm down. And
Or
the whole
what,
point,
fool? Or
don't
what?
put yourself off of mute, bruh. Calm down. First of all, you making a point on somebody on the panel was saying something that people didn't like. But y'all had someone on y'all panel saying the N-word. So what, like,
and he was dropped.
Hold y'all accountable for the same stuff. Like, bruh.
He was dropped. What do you want us to do? Tar and feather him?
Like, the hell you talking about?
No, what do you want us to do? Tar and feather him?
Bruh, you can't be a hypocrite.
No. How we dropped him. What more do you want us to do besides dropping him?
He came right back and still spread.
What more do you want us to do?
But y'all let him back on the panel. Okay.
I mean, fuck, dude. You guys let all kinds of shitty people.
Okay, yeah, okay. So yeah, he was dropped, but he got let back up.
But let's keep that clear. I don't allow people to call me names on my panel.
I
They
mean,
don't do
you had
that.
Josh and Jaylon promoting segregation on your channel, and you
If
let
they
them up
want to
there.
leave y'all alone, that's their choice. I cannot.
Okay, why didn't you tar and feather them?
What are you talking? You
Bruh.
saying that, bro? That's like racist. Do you understand that?
What are you
Natives,
talking about?
natives didn't. That's what I'm saying. So let me educate you. Natives didn't get tar and feathered. Africans did. Don't say that,
Yes,
bro.
they did. Well, let me educate you. Yes, the fuck they did.
Go show me. Pull it up.
Bruh, how many times we gotta tell you to
So
stop
they
interrupting, stop
tarred and
interrupting, and
feathered
stop being
Mexican farm
aggressive.
workers.
Stop interrupting,
They
stop being
tarred and
aggressive, and
feathered
stop
Mexican farm.
cutting.
He just.
You
He
gotta
just.
watch your mouth.
I'm telling you the facts.
I don't, bro. We're not gonna care about the
Tarred
facts
and
if you
feathered
ain't being
Mexican farm
respectful.
workers in
We don't care about the
the
facts if you're not
1900s.
being
In the
respectful.
1900s, they were tarred and feathered
Be
here in
respectful.
California
Hey,
for
be
refusing
respectful on the
deals. They
panel.
got tarred and feathered.
Be respectful on the panel, and then you can make your
I'm telling
point.
you
Stop
facts. They've
cutting
tarred
people
and
off.
feathered more than just black people, so stop lying.
Well,
Did I
yeah, a
say
lot
it
of
was the
stuff happened
only
to a lot of
one?
communities, but still
We
be
also got
respectful.
lynched, too. We also got set on fire. We
Yeah,
were
I know
also
that.
shot
But
down
watch your
en
mouth.
masse.
Watch your mouth.
He's I dropped him. He gotta calm down before he comes back up here.
Now I want to draw everyone's attention to something I thought was quite interesting.
Well, you are always being watched. Lorna,
We have
I'm going
a
to
judge
address
talking
this.
about moving illicit substances. We have a very special guest.
Hello, Witta.
I had a serious question for you, actually.
Hi,
Um,
Witta.
I have a serious question for Witta. No more joking around, at least for a little bit. I was in a debate with this guy named Vanta Entertainment, right? And he was telling me that let me show you a picture real quick. I was see if you can make this big. Whoever's a mod. He had this picture. I took a screenshot of his background because he was arguing that using cranial morphology, that they could determine whether or not I guess hopefully it pops up. All right. They determine whether or not someone is a Paleo Indian or a Paleo American based on cranial morphology. It's really small. You can't really read it, but like those, it says the Paleo American over here and the Paleo Indian over here, and then underneath is like a list of characteristics like about their skulls, right? Is that a legitimate science still used in anthropology, or is that phrenology?
That is absolutely phrenology. So craniology is just a different name for phrenology. Both of them are Nazi sciences that were
They called it cranial morphology.
Yeah. So studying the morphology, it's been proven that you cannot determine, so race doesn't exist anyways, but it has been determined that you cannot prove the non-existent race of a person by the morphology of their skulls. We have a tendency, okay, so like the Khoi people of South Africa literally have all the genetics for humanity within them, like all the human genes that we have as Homo sapien, except for the stuff that we got from like other species, right? All the human genes that we have as Homo sapiens, the Khoi people have within them. They have the greatest genetic diversity, right? That was part of how they disproved the theory of race, was looking at the Khoi people and looking at differences between populations versus in populations. So because the Khoi people have all the genetics that you can possibly have, they also have all the skin tones that you can possibly have. They also have all the eye colors that you can possibly have. They also have all the features that you can possibly have. And you will actually see that when they do studies on the Khoi population. They've actually used the population to do studies because of the genetic diversity. And it is the studies that they have done within the population that have actually debunked the idea that cranial morphology has anything to do with where a person is from.
Yeah, that's the little get around that he tried to play. Like it was so bad faith because he was like, I agree, race doesn't exist. Race doesn't scientifically exist. This isn't talking about race. This is saying this is a Paleo American and a Paleo Indian. And like whether you're talking about race, like well, let's say you're not talking about race. Even though he's gaslighting, he is talking about race. Can you determine someone's place of origin by their skull shape?
No. And actually, Kennewick Man is an example of that. Kennewick man was considered to be, for the longest time, to be, this must be an ancient European who made it over here, right? Now, Kennewick man dates to about, I think it's 15,000 years ago, and we have dating of sites in that area, like in eastern Washington and eastern Oregon, that like there was something found recently that's like 28,000 years ago or 18,000 years ago or something like that. It's pretty old. We've got other old datings in this area, right? So Kennewick man is definitely not the first person in this area, right? So his facial features, his skull morphology is going to be a more, he's been in the area, his ancestors have been in the area. So like he'd have, if morphology worked like that, he'd have the morphology of the area he's in. So Kennewick man's features were considered by phrenology to be that of a European man. And that is part of the reason that phrenology was debunked, because when they did the DNA testing on Kennewick man, they realized that Kennewick man is not European at all. And his features, like his genetic markers would not have been the genetic markers for a European human being at that point in time either. So the idea that your skeletal skull features actually denote so they're going to denote kind of like, you might have your mom's nose, right? But you're not going to have the Navajo nose. Everybody that is Dene has the Dene nose, right? You might see that many people who are many people who are Swinomish might have a rounder face, right? But not all Swinomish have a rounder face. You're not going to be able to look at the shape or the features of the skull and say, oh, absolutely, the only place on this planet that skull feature comes from is this location. And you're not going to be able to look at a skull even if I have two skulls that have the same features on them, that doesn't say that those two skulls are even related. You can have the exact same features on two skulls and do the DNA on those two skulls, and you could have people who are completely different genetic lines.
Let's simplify things for those struggling to keep up. If you can't determine someone's origins by studying cranial morphology, then how do you decide who's Native American and who isn't? You've essentially debunked your own argument, yet you're too slow to realize it. That's a form of indigenous erasure right there. Allowing a white woman to gaslight the panel by denying the validity of skull metrics is exactly how Native American spaces become infiltrated by outsiders. While you're busy targeting black individuals, you're turning a blind eye to those smiling in your faces, the same ones who displaced natives from their lands and confined them to reservations. Remember when Matteo argued that no reputable scientist or anthropologist would use this method?
Dr. Giorgio Manzi of the University of Rome is the world's foremost expert on human remains in Libya, and his department boasts an impressive collection of Libyan skulls.
The reason why the members of the Italian team in the 50s inferred that the child was a black child, a Negro child, is mainly a consideration of his face, especially the length here of the root of the nose, or also here the moving forward of the mouth.
The mummy's teeth also revealed his age at death.
When the Italian team first examined the Wamuja child, they looked at the teeth and found that he was very young. Especially using X-rays, it was easy to determine the exact age, looking at teeth still in the bone, in the alveolus.
He also made the claim that you can determine, using cranial morphology, that you can determine the various admixtures in regards to like humans who had interactions with Neanderthals and Denisovans, right? So he claimed that they could determine if you're part Denisovan or part Neanderthal based by your cranial morphology.
We don't know what a Denisovian cranial morphology is, so we can't determine anybody.
We only got like three partial skulls of those, right?
No, we don't even have like so we have a piece of a mandible and then we have like a chunk from the base of the skull. It's not even like a top of the skull. So we don't even really know. And really it's like I don't even think it's a full mandible. So we haven't even found more than a singular piece of any individual. And none of the pieces, the largest piece of any Denisovan that we have found is the mandible. Everything else, you can fit multiple of them in the palm of your hand. Most of the largest outside the mandible are like less than 2 inches. So you can literally fit everything but the mandible that we have genetically identified as Denisovan in the palm of your hand. They have pictures of people actually doing that. So we have no clue what Denisovan skull morphology was. It's also why we don't know whether or not Longi is Denisovan, because we don't have DNA from Longi, but we have a skull from Longi. We have DNA from Denisovan, but no skull from Denisovan. So, and when we look at Neanderthal morphology, we don't see morphology from Neanderthal. There's skull morphology in any Homo sapiens. There are people that have a receding chin. There are people that have a heavier brow ridge, but that receding chin still has the mental eminence. And that heavier brow ridge is M-shaped shelf that the Neanderthal brow ridge is. So we do not see any cranial morphology from either of those species in us at all to our current knowledge. We do see things like, so we can see genes, right? So we know that the Tibetans and the Jihu divers and certain people in Southeast Asia have an oxygen gene from the Denisovans that gives them the ability to process oxygen at higher altitudes and gives them the ability to hold their breath longer underwater. We know that the Vikings, right? So the Scandinavians during the Viking time had a gene, and that they still see in the Scandinavians today from the Neanderthal that actually, they call it the Viking handshake, is where it becomes associated with the Vikings, with that pull of the tendon. So we see different things, but those are to date. Those are the only 2 things that they've said, oh, we see this demonstrated actively and visually in the actions, behaviors, or features of a person that we can trace that to genes from one of these 2 species. 1 second, I gotta let the cat in.
Cool. And as soon as you let the cat in, I just want to get it for the record, because I'm sure this is being recorded. And you are a qualified archaeologist, right? That's your profession, right? If I recall correctly.
Absolutely. I have a degree in anthropology and I have a degree in medicine. I've been working in medicine for decades, so that's a degree in science. And I work currently within anthropology, but I currently don't work for other people. So this is I have a job that has been decided by people in many indigenous communities that has been assigned to me. And that job is to help white people better, and to help us have a better knowledge and understanding of what's going on. So I work for community. I don't work for an employer, but I am a qualified anthropologist. I have all the qualifications I would need to go into any job if I chose to, including teaching.
Great. That's great. Well, Lorena, I want you to, this is gonna be good for our toxic TikTok, because I was featured on the toxic TikTok trends where I got into a big debate with the Syndicate and Vanta Entertainment and Granny Coy and all these people. And I was arguing with them that the claim that you could determine a person's place of origin or their genetic admixture or any of those things based on an examination of their skulls to any degree is race science. It's phrenology. It's pseudoscience. It's misinformation, and it's perpetuating scientific racism. It's white supremacy, really, what it is, because it does not benefit any people of color to perpetuate this misinformation. Yet they still found it appropriate to do so. And then I was accused for arguing with them and putting forth that they are being racist by perpetuating this pseudoscience. I was then accused of being ignorant of science ignorant of cranial morphology, and myself actually being anti-black, I was being anti-black for arguing against these 20th century archaic, outdated pseudosciences. So it'd be great learning if you could like take some of this, this information that we got from Weta, and juxtapose it with what they posted on, like, screenshot screen record their video that they made on cranial morphology, so that we can point out that they are literally pushing race science and calling people who call them out for pushing race science anti-black. Wow. It is not anti-black to push against race science. It is anti-black to promote race science.
Wow. Not that's all I gotta say.
But to double down on that point, phrenology was specifically developed, and craniology was specifically developed to state that people who looked like they were African were less intelligent and more inclined to be criminals. That is literally why craniology was developed. It was developed to state that if you had, what they called a mid-face prognosis, or if you had a flatter nose, or if you had maybe a lower forehead, or all of these different things that they attributed to the African race, and that is how they titled it and named it, meant that if you had those things, that you were either a criminal or had genes for criminality, or you were of less intelligence and less evolved than those whose cranial morphology was European. So not only is it perpetuating race science, but it is perpetuating the race science that led to the apartheid in South Africa. It is perpetuating the race science that kept slavery in place. It is perpetuating the race science that made it last year or the year before when we finally passed the anti-lynching bill. That is the race science that it is perpetuating.
Wow. And if anyone's not familiar with what we're talking about, there's a scene in the movie Django Unchained where Leonardo DiCaprio rips open the skull of a former slave that had deceased to display a dimple or some sort of nodule that was inside of the former slave's skull, and he attributed that to the supposed level of docility inherent within black people that makes them more appropriate for being slaves. That's the sort of science, so-called science, that I'm allegedly ignorant of, and that Vanta with his pharmacy tech certification is a fucking expert about, right? And so is Granny Coy apparently, and so is all of the adjustment syndicates seem to be experts on this science, and I'm just ignorant of it. That's the sort of shit that these people are promoting, and when they're questioned on it, they will literally call you fucking racist and anti-black. It's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. Fuck. It leaves you stunned when you encounter this. I've argued against phrenology and race science because, I have some pretty developed counter arguments for race science. Weta brought up the Kennewick man, right? That's one of my go-to arguments. I also reference the Khoisan people, right? Because if you look at Khoisan people, they have a very diverse phenotype. Some of them look East Asian. Some of them look European. Some of them look Native American. Some of them look like other African people, right? They have such a diverse phenotype within just that small population of people the variations between different humans are phenotypes. Most of our phenotype, the features that that comprise our phenotype, the majority of them are soft tissue features, like the collagen of your nose and your ears, and like stuff like your lips, the size and fullness of your lips, the shape of your nose, your eyebrows. All this stuff is soft tissue features that do not translate into your bones. Those come from genetics and they don't correlate with your skull shape. Some of them do, but a lot of them don't. Most of them don't. And so you can't really look at someone's skull shape and say, oh, this guy's clearly an Asian person. This guy's clearly a sub-Saharan African person, right? You can't do that. So, but, you know, the reason why I know these counter arguments to this misinformation is because for years and years and years online, you know, and in my political work as well, I've encountered white nationalists and white supremacists. And they love race science. They love phrenology. They love all this race realism and race and IQ and all this stuff. And, you know, I've never had to argue with black people about this. I've always had black people that were involved in politics alongside with me also help me counter these arguments. But for the first time in my life at 36, you know, I'm encountering these ethnocentric black people online.
What's Raggedy Ashley doing in there? I could have sworn they said they blocked her out of their lives.
The Wabos and the Pan-Africans and these different nationalist groups, and they're trying to convince me of race science. It's insane.
Wow.
My big thing is I'm just here to educate. I don't want to be caught in the middle. I didn't mean to be caught in the middle of Port City. I told Port City where he stood with me. People want education. I'm here for it. Other than that, like the lateral violence and the fighting across and the expanding energy on these things costs us all so very much. And the longer that we do this, the longer the colonizer stays in power. And so, like, I just don't want to be involved in like the back and forth argument that tries to devalue or erase or takes away from the actual necessity. The actual necessity is, you know, land back on a global scale, returning governance and tending to indigenous thought process and lifeways, to indigenous people on a global scale, so we can end killing ourselves, right? So I'm going to keep speaking the science as much as I can and as truly as I can and as, you know, simply as I can. And just hope. But I just hope I'm not getting caught too much in between.
Don't worry. I'll do all the fighting. All right. you don't need to do any of that. I'll do. I'll do the fighting.
And this is important to me, and I want to say this now because I was made aware, and I don't want that to ever be the case. Only if it's understood that, you know, I treat all acts of hate equally. Oh, that's you. I thought it was a dog. I treat all acts of, anything that slurs thrown around, either sides, things like that. We should not be acting in any violence or hate towards each other. Violence and hate towards each other. It's frustrating to see people who constantly degenerate you or invalidate you or make you into nothing. It's absolutely frustrating. I think that it's important to remember that people who are ethnocentric, who are truly ethnocentric, are really underneath kind of a delusion and a disconnect that is a result of severe trauma, a disconnect that we don't feel when we're indigenous to the space that we're still in. We face genocide, right? And genocide and chattel slavery are two very different things. But the level of disconnect that comes and the level of trauma that comes with chattel slavery, with not even knowing who your family is 3 generations back and never being able to find it, right? And the pain and the, you know, like one of the things that I'm hearing is that this whole thing is being used to encourage people who are African descent in the United States to get DNA tests that cost an extreme amount, that gets kicked back to people who are encouraging them to find their own ancestry and use this specific site. And it's a scam because the testing doesn't do jack shit for them, because what it's saying it provides, it can't provide. It cannot tell you your clan. It cannot tell you, DNA can't tell you that, just like it can't tell you your Native American population, what nation you come from. DNA can't tell you those things, right? And we have to understand that all of this shit going on is causing harm to all of us, that the people that we're dealing with are under just as much trauma. It's just a different kind of trauma. And come at it in a manner of love and respect and understanding if we ever hope to get through to anybody. And then we have to understand that half the time you're not going to get through to them. So it's better to just block them and move on, because in the broad scheme of things, what court case is actually going to get their fucking land back? Where are they going to convince a judge that they deserve to start? You know, like, it's not going to fucking happen. And for those who are not truly ethnocentric and are just out here stirring up drama or causing reason to buy DNA tests or all this other fucking shit, you know, all it does is give them energy. And I just want to make sure that we also remember that the real people who are really hurting here are the ones who are getting it from both sides, because they're truly Afro-Indigenous. And
like what you said about the ethnocentric people, like the truly ethnocentric people, I mean, I agree. There's only you're dealing with a delusional person who is like in some way pathological. You're not going to really get through them with no matter how much science or evidence you bring. But when it comes to grifters, and I have a feeling there's more than a couple grifters involved in this ordeal. I think exposing them as frauds with ulterior motives and purposely misguiding people is important. So, you know, I appreciate you bringing your expertise to this and putting the whole phrenology thing to rest. I hope that is a dead issue now. I shouldn't have to argue about it anymore.
Truth. And let me be clear, because I don't want people to cut and paste and anything else. I at one point stated that there were things that I wanted to address that I knew, you know, were crossed within this space. And that was not anything about fraudulent or anything else. That was when I was talking about making sure that we remember not to be anti-Black within thought process, right? The fraudulent thought process is coming from the other side on so many levels, and it's taking advantage of people's own community, and that's shit, right? Not only that, I do want to make sure I end with what I was saying. We need to make sure that the Afro-Indigenous community, we remember that our Afro-Indigenous community is our siblings, right? Because they're getting the brunt on both sides. Because so many times they're going into a space and getting told you're not Indigenous, right? When they truly are, they have that connection and they have that, you know, that family ties, and that sometimes they carry cards, right? They truly are, right? So we have to make sure with that, I feel. So I want to make sure with all of that. And I just want to say I'm here anytime anybody has questions. I just don't want to be in the crossfire, and not like you guys are putting me in a crossfire. That's not what I'm saying, but I just don't want to be in the middle of the arguments. And much love.
Well, no, just appreciate your information. Thank you. Yeah, as far as Afro-Indigenous people, I mean, we see our Afro-Indigenous brothers and sisters as the same as we see ourselves. I understand that being an Afro-Indigenous person, you encounter different types of prejudice, not just from white people, but unfortunately, from your own people.
Mateo loves lying and gaslighting. Hey, Mateo, remember when you said that Afro-Indigenous people couldn't represent Native Americans because of their phenotype? This just goes to show you the inconsistencies in Mateo's thought process.
Tell me why people deny or try to deny that there is an indigenous American phenotype that exists?
Because they're uneducated, clearly.
I mean, I guess going back into like pre-colonial times, there is a certain, I guess, like, not even, I guess even then, like, we still look different, but I guess like we were more distinguishable as a, like, I guess, like, as opposed to tribes, you know, and then they used like symbolism and like tribal marking, stuff like that. But I mean, is it safe to say that none of us fit the phenotype of who we, you know, are attached to? So we need to, like, I guess, come together in some kind of resolution on that. You know, like, I don't want this to devolve into, you know, because I don't want to be on TikTok trends. I really don't. But I want you guys.
No, like, you get what I'm saying. None of us is going to look like our original.
No, some of us do, though. Some of us do. And when we act
That's
like none of us do, we
but the
erase
people
them.
that don't, they get erased because, again,
You're erasing somebody either way.
What?
Yes. All right. If you don't acknowledge those of us who, and I'm not including myself because I don't look like my ancestors, I'm mixed race. So if I wanted to depict the Mixteco people for what they look like, I would not show myself because that's not what they look like, right? I would show someone that is still representative of that phenotype. And so those people still exist. And when you try to make it like they don't exist, and like the typical representation of those people is a mixed race person,
doing that.
you're
That's how you're
erasing the
taking
people
a
who aren't.
video. Nobody's doing that. Nowhere in my video did I say these are the original people and that's what they look like. That's how you perceive the video and you ran with it. Nowhere in the video did I state that. In all my videos, I state that they're mixed. I put Afro Taino. I put the tribe. And the person that I represented, he is one of our leaders in our cacique of our Yucayekes. That's why I represented him. To honor him as being a leader within one of our caciques.
Well, did you hear what I said though? Like, do the people who are like have the indigenous phenotype, are they not deserving to be the representative of their people?
Sir, they've been getting represented. So what are you talking about?
How are they represented if they're not being depicted?
Anytime there's a documentary on Taino people, who get represented? The original Taino people. So what are you talking about?
Why shouldn't it be them?
Then why shouldn't the other ones get represented? You're contradicting yourself, my guy.
What do you mean? Why? I didn't contradict myself at all. I said, well, I asked you, why shouldn't they be the representation when they are?
Again, who's stopping them from being the representation? Nobody.
Well, I mean, you're the one that picked,
they get represented every time there's a documentary. Every time, Lily on Indigenous Taino Day, who gets represented? They do. So what are you talking about? You're not making sense. They've been getting represented since 1492.
All right, I'm kind of heated. I just want to have, like, if I have to showtime it, I'm gonna, you know, because not because
I'm
anybody.
not doing that because, like, he acting like these people don't get represented on a daily. Every time when there's Taino Day, who gets represented? Every time when they talk about the tribal dances, who get represented? The original people.
Mostly
darker skinned Taino people get erased as being Taino. So what the hell is he talking about?
Why shouldn't they always be the perfect person represented?
Can I speak?
Yes, sorry.
Mostly the lighter complected people do get represented. That I do see.
What do you mean by lighter?
Like within from an outsider looking in perspective, like, I do see a lot of lighter complected, like, Tainos get represented as, like, the diaspora, right? When there are other people.
That's because the indigenous American is not as dark as the indigenous African.
We don't even get talked about the Garifuna people because we're a sister tribe, and a lot of that has to do with colorism because of, you know, that's our origins. You know, we're exiled because we present a certain way. You know, we're dark complected African looking people, even though we have our walking blood. So I can kind of see how that is. You know, I'm not saying that it's right or, like, anyone's wrong here, but, like, that should be put into consideration. That, you know, the media portrays that all the time. Like, look at Telemundo. Like, the even within, like, the brown diaspora, if you want to, like, separate it like that, they don't get represented as anything more than the help. And we can attest to that as both within the diaspora that we get represented as the help, you know, both dark skin, and brown skin, we get represented as less than. Like that, the media is portraying this. It doesn't necessarily mean that is like what the opinion of you or Deadly or Nini
Nea
Hiko.
Nehe.
You said
Nea
what?
Nehe Kuha.
Nehe
Nea
Kula?
Nehe.
Nehe
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
I'm gonna
Gotcha.
just. I gotta go right now, but check
Yeah.
this out. This is a composite image of people, various indigenous people from different regions around America, right? And there's more than just this, but this is all I could fit in here, right?
Right.
This is representative of an indigenous American phenotype. This
Would
is
you
what
also argue that they do get misrepresented in the media though, and how they portray
Yeah.
that, like how they have
yeah, because there's colorism in media,
right.
But
So
like,
that's what
if
Deadly
you
is.
want to be representative of, like I said before, like I'm mixed with white. If you go down to Oaxaca, where my family's from, and you look at the people that I'm related to who are not mixed with white, they don't look like me. They look similar, but they don't look like me, just like me. I'm taller, I'm lighter skinned than they are, and I have more facial hair than they do. So what would it seem like if I presented myself as the representation of what these people look like?
Bro, but that sounds weird of you saying it, because
I
it's like
think
you
because
saying
you're
I
a
couldn't
present day
possibly be the
native.
representation of my community, and it sounds weird, my guy. You don't even hear yourself when you
Talking
speak.
about how they look.
A little
If you're,
bit of
if you're trying to represent how they look, then no, you don't.
Can I share
Bro,
a little
you don't get to
I don't
decide
think,
that. You're not part of the Taino community.
I mean, it's erasure to say otherwise.
hold on, guys.
No, what you're saying is erasure. Saying that I don't represent my community in the way I look. That's colorist, and
Hold on.
that goes past colorist.
Hold
That
on.
sounds racist as hell.
Hold on. Are Taino people African?
Yes, not modern Taino people are African.
May I speak on my own life, please?
Universally, it's not universally true, man. Come on now.
Mateo, may I speak?
Yeah, sorry.
So I don't think my cousin here, Danny, is trying to portray herself as the face of the whole diaspora. I think she's trying to just to validate that she is a face within the diaspora.
It's valid, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, like, if we are like this, like these pictures I'm showing you, these are representative of a Native American phenotype.
Right.
Now,
and we don't even present like that. All of us.
I know, that's why I would never put myself out there as
right.
a
So let me finish.
phenotype.
Let me finish for a second. So and that wouldn't also be like the same argument. Like we can't make ourselves like the front of that struggle as well, because like I get that we could like speak on like why that is wrong, but like we also have to acknowledge that we don't present like our predecessors either, so we wouldn't want to make ourselves
that's why I would never put myself in that position as representative of what
put myself
the
in that
Native American
position,
phenotype is, because it's not.
and I think you're being colorist. I
Okay, these
look
are
like
brown.
your little picture on the screen, and I'm telling you,
These are brown people.
it's colorism. I have cousins that come
They're
from
brown.
all different colors, and guess what? They will be accepted by my grandmother, who they are from,
I didn't say not to accept them.
and they will be loved and
Did I say
accepted
not to
by the
accept? Did I say
tribe.
not to accept them?
Does not mean
No, you just said
I
not to
didn't say
show
that,
them
did
as
I?
a representation.
no, but you're talking
Only
about
show the
they
light
can't
skin
be
one.
part. They
That's what you're
can't.
saying.
Why are you calling brown? Well, hold on. Why are you calling
Yeah,
brown
you're
people
basically
light skin?
saying that if they don't look
Why
like
are you
me,
calling brown people light skin?
if you
Because
don't
they're
look
black.
like me,
this.
sir,
I don't look
sir,
like this.
sir, if you don't look like me, then they don't get to talk. So you're saying that people
That's
with
not
a
what I said.
darker
That's not what I said.
color can't
Not what I
represent the
said.
people.
Not well. If we're
Yes,
talking
you just
about
said that.
phenotype,
You said if they
we're
don't look
talking
just
about
like something that I look like, or something that.
Listen. Hear me out, okay? Now, I'm going to say it like very blatantly. It's not going to be misinterpreted. If you are trying to visually represent a phenotype of an indigenous people, then you must look like this.
Bruh, that didn't sound any better.
No, you don't.
I don't care if it sounded better. It's
That is
factual.
not.
Actually,
Hold on.
hold on. So, all right. So if I wanted to represent
That is not
the
how it
indigenous,
works.
hold on.
Can I
Hold on.
say
Listen.
something?
If I want, let me say
If
this real
you
quick,
know
Casey,
your
please.
people
If
and
I
you know
wanted to
your no, let me
represent,
talk. You've been
hold
talking
on.
this whole time. I have been silent and in the comments this whole
I
time,
mean,
sir.
I
So
don't
let me
remember
speak.
inviting you to this discussion. This was supposed to be
I have
between me
been
and Deborah.
quiet and calm, sir.
Casey,
Thank
please.
you.
Yeah,
As I was saying,
I want some decorum, please. But yeah, go ahead, Nietzsche. Go ahead, Nietzsche. Sorry.
I've listened to you, everything you have said for like the past
Yeah, but
hour and a half,
you've misrepresented
maybe.
what I've said
So
several times
like,
already. So you're
I've
not
heard
listening to understand.
everything.
You're
Why are
listening to
you
respond.
defending yourself? I'm not even attacking you,
Because I have
sir.
the right to. You are attacking me. You've attacked
Let
me
me
every
speak.
time you've said so far.
I think
You're misrepresenting
No,
my
I'm
argument. That's an
telling
attack.
you you're colorist.
Yeah, because
You're
how is it
misrepresenting your
colorist?
argument.
These are brown people. You understand that? You're calling brown for me saying that
And
brown
I'm a
people
brown
should be
person telling you
represented
you're
by brown
colorist.
people.
but hold
These
on.
are brown
I want
people.
you guys to see this picture real
These
quick.
are brown people. You understand that, right?
These are brown people. They're just a darker
So
shade
how's
of
it
brown. So
colorist?
what's the
Hold on.
problem?
Okay. So indigenous people aren't allowed to be represented by
Because you're
indigenous people.
basing it,
Is it by their skin color or is it their phenotype?
unless they don't look like that on your screen.
Hold on. These are my people.
Yeah.
I speak for their
According
struggles,
to you,
but I do
no one
not.
can
Hold on.
represent the Native community unless they look like those on your
Hold on.
screen.
I'm trying to make a
No,
point.
that's not what it said.
Trying to
You
make
won't
a
listen.
point.
You won't listen.
I'm trying to make a point.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
These are my people. I do not present like them. And I don't sit up here and try to make myself the face of the movement for their plight, but I speak as someone within the diaspora that shares their plight. Now, I don't believe my cousin here was trying to do that. I see how that could probably be misconstrued, and I see your argument too. That is that there's a certain look that even you don't present as. Now, as people that are not presenting as the people who we descend from, why do we have a disconnect where we're trying to see ourselves as like the front of it all when honestly I don't believe you're trying to do that. I don't believe Nietzsche's trying to do that. I don't believe Deadly is trying to do that. So where is the disconnect coming from? Because no one is trying to say that they're the movement of shit. I think I can't speak for everyone.
No,
right?
I don't think being as far as politically active and advocating for your own people and speaking for the concerns and interests of your own people, that doesn't your the way you look doesn't matter, right? But if we're talking about what is a visual representation, like if I was to tell you, describe an indigenous American to me, and you start describing an African person to me, you're not telling me the accurate description.
Mm-hmm.
It's not accurate.
So you want the stereotypical version of what we should look like.
Stereotypical or real?
But what he's saying is not making sense. Visual is look, my guy. Visual. You have to
that's
see
why I said
it.
visual. I'm talking about a visual representation.
That is
Visual
why
So
what
you're being stereotypical. You want them to look like
what are you
that
talking
to represent the Native community.
Like you're not even hearing what you're saying.
I don't think you guys hear how what you're saying is erasure of the original phenotypes of these
Bro,
people.
what you're saying is erasure. If you don't look like this, is a
How am I erasing my own
misrepresentation.
people?
Okay, you're saying that there are. Do you believe that there is a
So
distinct
because
phenotype? Answer the question. Do you believe that there is a distinct phenotype that is unique to the United States or the Americas prior to colonialization? Do you believe that phenotype exists?
Yes, and I probably have it because I have 6 tribes.
So why can't it be represented?
You act like it hasn't. Like what your
Why can't
argument
it should be.
So why can't Deadly represent her people?
Yes.
Why? Because she doesn't look like the stereotypical Native?
She can represent her people.
Why can't
in
Debbie
several
speak on
different
her
ways, but as
Taino
far as
people whenever
representing
she
their phenotype,
is?
she's physically impossible.
I think that's what you're missing
so
as
you
well,
want to
Mateo.
control how I show my people. That's what you're saying.
I think that's what
If I
you're
don't
missing.
show them in the way you want me to show, it's a misrepresentation because it's not what you want to see.
Hold
And
on,
that's giving white supremacy. That's what it's giving.
Do you think that when Christopher Columbus came to Hispaniola and he first met the first Tainos, did they look like you?
You know damn well I don't believe in that. So stop asking stupid questions.
And that does happen, and we don't tolerate that here, and it's not cool, and it's unfortunate that it happens, and you know, I see a lot of these like ethnocentrics and these wobbles. I feel like a part of their strategy for building momentum behind their movement is exacerbate the already existing tensions within the Native American community between non-Afro-Indigenous and Afro-Indigenous people, and making the Afro-Indigenous people who already to some degree may feel like alienated from their own community due to their phenotype, make them feel even more so, because now they're being now they're not only being blatantly disrespected because of their phenotype, but now they're also being accused of being Wabos. So that's even more shit that they have to bear. And that's, we should have more discernment over here on the native side. But as far as the Afrocentric side, we wouldn't, they're creating a problem where there formerly wasn't one. And there was already a problem as far as, people's like mixed race background. That problem already existed. We don't need extra problems to be created for our Afro-Indigenous brothers and sisters. So it's pretty fucking it's pretty like callous and calculating to do that. And they say that they believe that they're the real Native Americans. If they really felt that way, I figured they would have more sympathy for other Afro-Indigenous people, right? Like the fact that they're willing to subject them to that sort of abuse tells me that they really don't see themselves as one. That they're willing to sacrifice other so-called original people. Then I don't buy it.
We actually have a Afro-Indigenous sister that's always with us here, Native Cutie. Right, sister? And sometimes she feels like she's caught in the middle of it, but she stands firm in how she was raised in her native culture, and she does bring a lot of awareness to those who have been attacking us for the sake of for the sake of arguing, right? Native Cutie, if you want to share anything, please, I appreciate it.
All I know is that, like, watching this stuff and me being honest is that, like, I feel like I don't want to be both anymore. I don't want to exist because, like one side I'm getting invalidated and being chased around and lied about because I got pissed because nobody doesn't know the aspect of being Afro-Indigenous, and watching this shit unfold, it makes you want to disappear. And then the other side doesn't really accept me either because I'm too light and I have privilege and I'm this and I'm that. So, like, and then if I do encounter any anti-whatever, I will always speak up about it to the people I feel that are doing that. But then I can't always do that all the time. I just let it go because it's not all that serious. But then the pretendians are not realizing that this is affecting actual Afro-Indigenous people like myself, and it's wrong. And I feel like just because you have a disagreement with somebody doesn't mean you have to disrespect their culture either. And like, there's new people on this panel that has no idea what's going on, and they're reconnecting. So it's affecting a lot of things, and I just feel personally like I have really nothing to say because nobody's not going to listen to me anyway. So that's why most of the time, like, I don't say nothing because it's pointless. And if you're not a geneticist or an actual person that went to school for this, you shouldn't really be speaking on anything. And if we don't want any problems, I think respectfully that we should just stick to our own cultures and not talk about other people's cultures if you're not part of that group of people, and just leave things lie. And to be honest, sometimes people speak what's on their mind, and it will come across as brash. And some people are defending themselves because people are being insulted. The same thing you guys are doing over there. You guys are doing the same thing. So, like, I really wish the fighting could stop because there's other things going on. Like, TikTok is going to disappear soon, and I want to be talking about something else that's productive and educational.
I feel you. Well, we don't want you to disappear, Native Cutie. So if you try to disappear, I'll follow you. So don't even try.
I hear you. I see you. I hear you. I see you. And I've seen you. And I thank you for your words. And I thank you for your words.
You're welcome. I've been watching you because I have an interest in like archaeology and anthropology, and I respect you so much. And like, it was hard for me to see how you were treated as a professional in your field. And I apologize on their behalf from a part of me because like that was really wrong for them to do.
Hey, I accept that apology because I understand why, but please do not feel like you or any person who shares common dissent with them in part owes me an apology for their behavior. That is about a specific group of people, not about even a broader community. A and B, I mean, okay. One thing that could possibly be attributed as crappy is now all over the internet. And I'm like, okay, like, I didn't, like, whatever. Like, I apologize for harm that's caused by this. And, you know, like, what they've done isn't enough for anybody who is not themselves to apologize for. A. And B, will never take me down. Will never silence me. Worse than them have tried, right? And I respect you. I've seen you, and I respect you, and I love what you do, and I love the quiet calm that you are, and I want you to understand that. And you're not the only sibling that I have that is Afro-Indigenous and is dealing with this hate from so many different sides and this discredit and invalidation. And I got told the other day because like I started getting called a pretendian when I was like 12. I was never nothing but Indigenous until I got told I was a pretendian at 12. And I went, what do you mean? Like, and then I was told, well, you can't prove that that's your family, so that's who you are. And I went, okay, well, I'm Indigenous, so who else is Indigenous, and what can I find that's Indigenous? Because I need to know my ancestors. And that's how I got into archaeology and anthropology. And it was described to me yesterday by somebody who encouraged me to stay around and literally made me bawl in this description, that I was standing in line for dinner with everybody else, and I got told there wasn't enough to go around, so I needed to step out of line. And so I just said, okay, I'll step out of line. And I went and found food. And I came back, but I didn't feel like I deserved to get back in line. For those of us who are on any level invalidated in our connection to who we know we are, and this happens so frequently with the intersectionality that many of us who are mixed end up going through and dealing with, that invalidation of self is so deep that I totally understand that feeling of hiding. Taffel called me out basically and told me that I wasn't Indigenous and alive. That's why I went hiding for like a fucking month and a half, because I was like, I'm not dealing with this shit anymore. Right? So I feel it in every inch of my bones, and fuck them all. You know who you are. 100%. And anybody who invalidates your knowledge of your grandmother in your bones is their issue with racist thought process and colonial mindset. It is not an indigenous mindset, because every indigenous nation I know of to this day is inclusive, not exclusive. And it is not a loving mindset. You are valid and one drop indigenous, as I have heard over and over said so many fucking times, makes you indigenous. And we often say I'm Afro-Indigenous, or I'm globally mixed Indigenous, or I'm white Indigenous, or I'm this Indigenous, or I'm that Indigenous, to try and give honor and love to the people around us and make sure that other people understand that we understand, right? And yet still we are Indigenous. Remember that. So if you're not accepted anywhere else, you are always Indigenous.
Yeah, well, just to lighten up the mood a little bit, you said something about Native Cutie having this calm, quiet. You don't know Native Cutie. she not always calm and quiet.
Oh, lately I have, because I just realized it's not being called things and like people talking shit like they're 12. It doesn't mean I have to stoop down and go back to being toxic and really evil like I used to be. And I'm just letting a lot of stuff go, but I'm far from quiet. You could ask Mono, you could ask Legal, you could ask Mateo, you could ask the comments. 8-9 months ago, I wasn't always like this. I was always going back and forth, but I just realized it's not even worth it anymore. So I just try to do my own thing.
Hey, Mono, make my screen big real quick, if you can.
I have no idea how to pronounce it. Unicorn, okay?
Thank you, Wida, for sharing that, and also you, Native Cutie. I appreciate you both.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Oh, and
So,
Native.
I was in this is a screenshot from a Wabo live that I was in, and they were trying to say that, like, these are the real continents. This is a real map of Earth. Planet Nerd, so like it says, Planet Nerd has no sun, is located next to Six Universe, also some blah, 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 right? This map, bro, and I'm sure because Native Cutie, you're a gamer, right? Does this map look familiar to you at all?
Yeah.
This is the fucking Elder Scroll map. This is fucking Elder Scrolls. There's literally Skyrim right there in the Somerset Isles. These motherfuckers, I go right here. I go, we was Red Guards and shit. We was Nords and Khajiits and shit. Like, these motherfuckers think they're from the Elder Scrolls universe, bro. Like, this is the type of shit that we're, and they expect, and then you got people like Port City and the Syndicate telling us that we need to make scientific arguments. You need to come with the science, bro. If you ain't coming with the science, then stay the fuck out of the conversation. Meanwhile, these motherfuckers are coming with Elder Scrolls maps. Please. I'm done.
That's epic. I do have to go. I meant to speak and get down. Much love to everybody. Take care. Have a good night.
You too. Have a good night.
Thank you, Wida.